I gotta say, I'm impressed. Hey guys, Matt here. On this channel we talk about stocks, investing, and personal finance from the perspective of my own financial journey. In this week's portfolio update, we're going to talk about Hyliion. Now, I made a video on Hyliion a while ago, which you can watch up here, where I go over the stock, what the company's about, and all that stuff, and my general feelings on the company. And at the time of the video, I really liked the company, but there are some things I needed to see before I was willing to pull the trigger. For one, I needed to see the stock price drop below $20, and preferably closer to 15, because it's a new emerging company. I didn't like the stock price being what it was at the time. I also needed to see some developments being made on the HyperTruck ERX, which is their new powertrain that they're supposed to release later this year, early next year. And then I needed to see some consumer interest, some evidence of consumer interest in Hyliion's products. Well, Hyliion released some earnings yesterday. I'm recording this on Wednesday. You'll be seeing on Friday. And I gotta say, I'm pretty fucking excited. So as a very quick overview on what Hyliion does, Hyliion is a player in the whole EV scene. However, instead of targeting consumer vehicles and stuff like Tesla is, they are targeting semis. Now, they don't develop the semis themselves. They develop powertrains based on renewable energy that they will put into existing semis. So they will remove the traditional diesel powertrain, and then they will install their own shit. Right now, they have a product which you can buy today, two products which you can buy today, which is hybrid diesel, which is a combination of either diesel or electric, or their hybrid CNG, which is either renewable natural gas or electric. They also, of course, have their own battery solutions that they put in their semis. Now, Hyliion's claim to fame, at least what they're trying to do, is they're targeting renewable natural gas first. Now, they do have plans way down the line to develop a pure hydrogen truck. Now, unlike Nikola, they are started with renewable natural gas because renewable natural gas there's already an infrastructure for that. There's not an infrastructure for hydrogen right now, at least not in North America. All right, now on to their earnings. Now, you're going to see me switch between this and this throughout the video. But for starters, they announced a new battery, which is going to pair in with their new HyperTruck ERX and feature Hypertrucks. Now, this is going to work with both the renewable natural gas and the hydrogen. This module is capable of 5 times as much cycle life than a conventional EV battery, and can be recharged in under 8 minutes. Now, one bad thing about electric batteries and stuff, like Teslas and stuff, I mean, they're fantastic. However, they take a long fucking time to charge. And for Hyliion to have a battery that can charge in under 8 minutes is pretty goddamn fantastic. Earlier in 2020, they set a goal that they wanted to install 20 hybrid electric units for customers in that year, and they achieved it. It developed revenue. Now, here's my problem with this earnings report. Now, for whatever reason, and you're going to see this later, for whatever fucking reason, I don't know if it's a PR move or not, they chose not to record the bookings for this revenue for this quarter. I don't know if they're just trying to bolster the impact of 2021 or what, but it would have been a nice psychological thing to see Hyliion actually record revenue. But for whatever reason, they didn't put it on the books. Now, according to their sales highlights, they're already partnering with early adopters. There are strong candidates for conversions into large customers over time. Now, this is just what they're saying, so we don't actually know if this is true or not. But according to them, they're already starting to, gauge customer interest in their products. Market acceptance is continuing to grow with new customer adoption. So, assuming that what they're saying here is half correct, I'm already happy. Taking a look at some of their numbers, they went from a net loss. Now, this is last year compared to this year, a net loss of $4 billion to a net loss of $20.5 billion because they didn't fucking record the revenue. Now, I'm not mad at these numbers. I mean, they ramped up their R&D, and they paid off all of their debt. I'm going to show you their balance sheet in just a second. It is fucking beautiful. But I am not mad at this income statement at all, especially now that they know that there is revenue that hopefully they will actually report next quarter. Next quarter should be really, really nice. Now let's look at their balance sheet. And I know my stupid face is in the way, but look at their assets. They jumped from 14 million to 650 million in total assets. And look at that cash position. Like, you can already tell I'm in love with this balance sheet. I fucking love great balance sheets. And this is fucking amazing. Now look down here. Hopefully my head isn't in the way, but they have 650 million in assets to 10 million in liabilities. This is one of the best balance sheets, you know, assets compared to liabilities that I've seen in a long time, and I fucking love balance sheets. Hopefully you can see all that, but all of their debt is gone. Well, almost all their debt is gone. They have a little bit left, but I mean, the point is that they could pay all that off instantly if they wanted to, just from their cash. This is a balance sheet I can't ignore. I can't walk away from this. Taking a look at the equity. Now, from last year to this year, they did perform an acquisition with Hortus, which is how they went public in the first place. But, I mean, their stockholders' equity, they went from a deficit of 18 million to 640 million. Oh my god, I fucking love this balance sheet. Alright, judging by their cash flow, they are losing money from their operating activities. No surprise there. They are getting most of the money through financing. Now, their business is, I mean, they've been around a while, but in business terms, they're just starting out. I mean, they recently went public, so I'm not mad at this, as long as at some point, this stops and they become eventually able to sustain themselves. But I ain't mad at that. They ended the period with 389 million in cash compared to 6.2 million in cash this time last year, thanks to those financing activities. I think they sold a bunch of warrants, which converts to stock. Again, as long as this eventually stops, I'm okay with that. All right, they're expanding their leadership team now. They hired a CFO, they hired a chief compliance officer, a senior vice president of sales and supplies, a senior vice president of marketing. As far as their HyperTruck ERX, which is the product that they're banking on, they have an initial customer demo deployment scheduled for late 2021. They've already have their launch partners, which they hope to turn into customers. I am really glad to see this. Then we got full commercialization in 2022. So consumer interest, check, according to Hyliion. They could be wrong, but that is a check for now. Development of the HyperTruck ERX, that is coming along very nicely, according to them. Now, we still need to see some, trucks on the road. But, I mean, in my opinion, I'm finding myself believing them a lot more than I believe Nikola. Now, they also laid out their plans for the next 5 years as far as their HyperTruck goes. So, right now, you can buy their hybrid, and then once the HyperTruck ERX releases, which is at the end of this year and early next year, they're going to start with the renewable natural gas. And then down the line, as the hydrogen infrastructure in the U.S. becomes better and better, they're going to be switching to that. Now, another thing I like is that their powertrain, basically, they are designing it to be future-proof. So they will have the ability to replace the natural gas part. So when hydrogen becomes a real thing, they can just swap out the natural gas generator with a hydrogen fuel cell, just like that. So customers don't need to buy a whole new powertrain. They can just swap out the generator. And I gotta say, I really like Hyliion's approach to this. I think this is very smart. Hyliion isn't selling the trucks themselves. They're taking existing customer semis, they're ripping out the diesel fuel powertrain, and they're putting their own shit in there. I think this is very smart. Now, I'm not an expert in the semi-truck industry, so I could be wrong. It just, from my amateur perspective, I think this is very smart. Now let's take a look at that stock price. Hyliion stock has dropped to $16.58, which is very, very interesting in my book. And it's looking like it's getting lower after hours. That's too good to pass up. Like, this might be too good to pass up right now. So as you can hopefully tell, I really like the company. They have a fantastic balance sheet. They have a business model which I think is really smart. I like the CEO, Thomas Hyliion. I listened to a couple of his interviews on YouTube. He is a very logical guy, and I like his approach to a lot of things. However, this wouldn't be Stock Overflow if I didn't talk about some risks with this company. Now, they have a great balance sheet, which should allow this company to sustain operations for a while, but all the excitement in Hyliion revolves around them releasing their truck into customer demo deployment in late 2021, and then full commercialization next year. That still has to happen. And as you know, I mean, as it was the case with Nikola, if the thing doesn't happen, things are going to go to shit. They already noted in their earnings presentation that they were experiencing commercialization delays, but they did assure us that they are on track to deploy units this year. Now, we don't have any exact dates yet, but it's supposed to be late this year. So hopefully these commercialization delays don't affect this. And then there's also the issue with customer interest. Now, they did say that they're gaining market acceptance that is growing, that is continuing to grow over time. Now, those are just their words. We don't know what's actually going to happen when they release the product. Like, they could meet all their deadlines, they could release the product, and then no one buys it. That is a risk that people investing in Hyliion is going to have to take. We don't know, until we get some feedback from third parties, we don't know how big this customer interest is going to be. But it is my opinion that I think Hyliion is worth at least a spec play. And buying Hyliion is exactly what I did. Now, I started a very, very, very small position today. Because it's a spec play, I can't go all out. I mean, that balance sheet, the presentation, the progress that they're reporting is just too good to pass up for me. I just had to start a small position. Now, my strategy for this position is I bought 10 shares for starters. Now, if this price drops below 15, I'm going to continue to add more and more shares. Now, as far as the money I'm going to invest in this, I don't know how many shares, but I like to get about 1,500 to 2,000 and then let it sit there. So that's my strategy with Hyliion for now. Now, if the stock price goes up, I'm not going to do anything. Taking a look at the rest of my portfolio, I sort of got the shit beat out of me this week. Just like anyone who owns tech stocks, but it rallied back a bit, but, we took a hit. Tapestry, I just tripled my money on. Tesla took a big hit, but it's coming back. I'm not down on any position, except for Hyliion, of course, but, I just started it, so I don't really care. But everything else is looking quite nice. I'm even up on AT&T. Right now, my equity is $41,549.38. I'm up 39.18%, and I have just over an $11,000 gain. Earlier this week, I deposited $600 into my money market, and Friday, which is when you'll be seeing this video, I'm going to deposit an additional $1,200 to $1,400 into this money market. But anyways, take care, have a great day, and eat your vegetables.